obvious, but it was too tight and uncomfortable. I thought I'd Pouncer's jewels because I've still got them.
Ooh, that would have been amazing.
It still could happen.
It still.
I want people to hear this, what I've just said.
You can.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to start off by welcoming everybody who's going to be listening, and welcome to our Box of Delights ScrobbleFest21. And today we are massively privileged to welcome the famous Lady Patricia Stevens, also known as Patricia Quinn, and also known to us all as the infamous Sylvia Daisy Pouncer. We're all really grateful that you've agreed to chat to me today. And not to waste anybody's time anymore, I'm going to launch into the questions that have been submitted by our Box of Delights fans. So we're starting with Claire Sloan, who would have loved to have made a video for you, but unfortunately she's not been very well, but she has sent in some questions. And her first question is, what was the casting process that you went through to get the role as Pouncer?
I auditioned.
Did you? What was it like?
Well, it's like always when I audition. If I want it, I get it.
Ooh.
No, the thing is, the story goes that Robert was cast as Abner Brown. I knew that. Then Rennie Rye, who's the director, I'd worked with him before when I was playing Christabel Pankhurst, and he was on the floor. He wasn't a director then. He was one of the guys, and he was a great guy. And he and I were friends on the set, blah, blah. And then I got a call from Rennie Rye to come in about the Box of Delights to the BBC to see him. And I thought, so he's now a director. So you have to be nice on the way because you never know on the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went in to see Rennie, and he said, I'm doing this, and there's a character, Sylvia Daisy Pouncer, and there's only one actress I know who can play this part. I listened to this. And, so you're her. You're the only actress I can imagine to play this. I said, oh, right, good. And he said, and I've got Robert Stevens and Brown. And I said, yes, I know. He said, how do you know that? I said, because I live with him.
Wonderful. Yeah. That sounds fantastic. And did you have a particular way that you wanted to play the Pouncer in mind once you were cast?
No.
No?
Just naturally.
Just naturally.
I am the Pouncer, darling.
She is the Pouncer. I love it. Did you actually read, Lizzie Lawson asked, did you actually read the Box of Delights book before filming?
I can't remember that. I'm sure I must have. I would imagine I would have. It is here. But Robert was full of the Box of Delights because he'd heard it. I've told these stories before. I hope it don't bore anyone. But Robert, he was a 13-year-old boy at his home in Bristol, and his father had the radio on, listening to something called the Box of Delights. And he never forgot it. It made such an impression on him as a boy. And Robert was born, what age, what year was that? Robert was born in 31, so 13, what year is that? You're going to be no good at that. Can
31,
you not?
41, 44? 44-ish.
Really? Oh my goodness. One is getting younger and younger. Terrifying. Anyway, so then he said to me, I would pay the BBC to play Abner Brown. I thought, all right. And, I mean, So but his main thing was that he said that to Rennie Wright, he said, I'll only do it if you play the music that was played then. And they did. Rennie said, I am using that music. So I'm sure are you called boxers?
Yes.
I'm sure lots of boxers will know what I'm talking about the music, because it is extraordinary, the music, when one, it does add brilliantly. So Rennie said, yeah, I'm using that. So that was all on. We did it.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Carl Bate has obviously done a bit of research anyway, or knows you in other things. So he says, did your role in Minder a few years before get you ready to deal with rogues and villains after spending time with Arthur Daley? And did this prepare you for being Abner's other half in the Box of Delights?
No.
That answered that question.
No. No, I know. I'm being silly. What was the question again? Arthur Daley. Well, yeah. No, come on. But that's a very sweet question, and adorable. But there's no villain to compare with Abner Brown. There's no villainess to compare with. And I imagine in mind, I don't know. I suppose I was a villainess. Why were they after me? Were they the police?
I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. Obviously, Carl has.
Well, you can see it's being repeated every day at the moment.
Oh, right. Cool. Might go and watch that. Fantastic.
Okay. Well, that's so sweet. That's adorable question. Thanks for asking that.
Cool. So we're on to the sort of production questions, and Lizzie Lawson and both David Drew have asked the same question, which is, what is your favourite memory of filming Box of Delights?
Well, I quite enjoyed going into the tunnels at St. Catherine's Dock. That was quite an adventure, to go into those tunnels.
Yes.
But I liked hanging out with Mouse. Him sort of peeking under the... And I used to come in, it's a while ago since we made this, but I used to come into the studio and Mouse was meant to be there because it was all done with, special effects and things. Like where we lived, that room was on a great height, so that Mouse could look, things would look different, so it was very odd. That's why I was standing on like what seemed like a big box, which was the set,
Mm-hmm.
Then I used to come in and he was always standing, whatever, and I said, hi, Mouse, he's a marvelous actor. I've forgotten who played Mouse, I've forgotten his name, but he and I got on very well. So I just went in and said hello to a Mouse every day, it seemed to me. Quite a few days. The saddest thing in the world to me is that the Pouncer didn't have a big enough part.
We could definitely have done with more of you, that's for certain.
I could have done with more of it. I loved it. But then they had to do flying cars and, snow scenes and cathedrals and things. So there wasn't much time for me.
Oh, bless you.
I know. I love being her. And yes. Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah. Katie Fraser wants to know, what is your most favourite scene to film?
Oh, yeah. Put her in the scrounger. I loved doing that. Because it was such a great idea for us to be behind those rails looking down on her.
Yeah.
It's so clever. Oh, I enjoyed that.
You can really tell as well. It's a fantastic scene. I love that moment. Katie also wonders, what was the hardest scene that you found to film in the Box of Delights?
When we were in the plane, the aeroplane, to go off with the jewels, the things were going around, the propellers, is that the word?
Yeah.
Thanks. They had it was in the field, of course, it wasn't in a shed or in a studio. It was a real plane. And They had the wolves were in a fenced up cage thing in that field. The wolves that they filmed, obviously.
Yeah.
And to keep wolves, you have to have concrete underground and everything because they can burrow out and everything. So it was quite something. Because I look at the wolves in London Zoo and think about our wolves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
London Zoo's amazing. It's wonderful.
Mm.
I wouldn't know penguins without it.
No.
Anyway, apart from that, so the wolves were in a cage and the vroom, vroom, vroom. So the wolves went bonkers with the noise. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, wolves. We've got to film this. You're not meant to be there doing that, doing that. But anyway,
That was probably a tricky bit to get past then.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But not really. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun.
You may almost have answered this next question from Helen Moore, but I'm wondering if you're going to come out with the answer I expect. But she says, "Did you have a favourite line of dialogue?"
Yeah, what do you expect?
I'm expecting to go the put them in the scrounger, but I might be wrong.
Oh, I remember that line. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that was of interest, really.
Yeah.
I just loved all my, buttering up Abner lines.
Mm.
They were, I mean, they were brilliant. I think we used them at home after that. Like Robert.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, of course.
Of course you did.
They couldn't better those lines.
No.
Flattery, no. And I love that your imagination is quite Shakespearean.
Yes.
Honest to goodness, looking back, it was hilarious. It was so clever. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you memorize back. That's fine. That's what we're all interested in.
Yeah, but it was just so clever. It was a joy to do. I miss her, miss the Pouncer. I miss Abner in his green dressing gown. And that was another thing. The costumes were fantastic because the BBC always did the best, especially in those periods of, and the Pouncer's outfits were brilliant.
Jenny Dobson asks, did you actually have any input into your costume?
No, I tried them on.
You tried them on, but you obviously still now you have the jewels though still that you had.
That's a joke.
Oh right, you don't. Oh, that's a shame.
No, I didn't take the jewels. I got better ones at home.
Well, that's all right then.
Robert Stephen jewels. They're not actually. But I've got a wonderful, yeah, I have these necklaces from Nowhere Design. I'm going to advertise them. They're in Camden Market. They're fantastic. They do these things. And one's wonderful jewels. And I should have brought it to, and it was a bit uncomfortable, so I couldn't fix it on either. It's gorgeous. I thought I must wear jewels for Pouncer time, you see. But I didn't.
Well, you look a little sparkly from here, so that's good.
I'm a little bit.
Little bit sparkly. Alicia Tate Younger asks, do you think it's part of Box of Delight's enduring charm that it had strong female characters such as yourself and Mariah?
I've never given that any thought. That'd be part of it, but the whole thing is astonishingly. Is the word charming?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it's charming. I like the fact that we have such a variety of female characters in it, which you don't necessarily always get, especially in.
That's strange that I never. Of course, the House of Children and everything. I've never examined the Box of Delights, if you see what I mean. Like you talking like that, it's completely foreign to me because I thought I've never thought about those things ever. Because I just accept that's the world that I lived in. You know, I was thinking that the other day. I mean, when I played Christabel Pankhurst for the BBC, and I was in Trafalgar Square standing with the lions, you know, doing a speech of Christabel's
Right.
for women to join us in the vote. So with extras and the BBC and cameras and lions in Trafalgar Square. And my son, who was a little boy at the time, was there to watch his mother standing on Trafalgar Square with the lions, you know, making speeches. And I personally thought, I personally think I got the vote for women.
Mm.
I'm so immersed in it that I thought I was her. Well, you know what I mean? When you're in time and place.
Yeah.
And so it kind of overtakes one. I'm not being all method and Marlon Brando. It's nothing to do with that. It's just like you become so involved in the storyline and whatever. And I was thinking, there was a poem this morning that someone was singing a poem of Rossetti's put to music. And I did a program at the about the pre-Raphaelites. I played Elizabeth Siddal, married to Rossetti. And I'm this morning thinking, oh, my husband wrote that. Excuse me?
Mm.
Rossetti, my husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloodman Kingsley.
Yeah.
So that's the world Pat obviously goes into. I've never said that before in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not being methody. You know, I hate talk about acting. I find it frightfully boring. Even though I spent 3 years at an amazing drama school, but the greatest relief was to leave that and forget all about the theory that they taught me and just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. That's because you got it. It's brilliant. Damien McLeave has a couple of questions, but his first one is he starts off by saying the following. It says, "It takes one hell of an actor to stand out working alongside Robert Stevens, which you did comfortably and wonderfully, and I would agree with him entirely." And he wonders, what memories have you of working with Robert in particular?
Well, first of all, he was under the thumb. No, the thing is, I first met Robert when I auditioned for a West End play called Murderer. And I went for an audition with Robert Stevens. And Michael White, who just produced the film Rocky Horror, this was just after that.
Mm-hmm.
I had magenta's hair out to here, and it was very cold winter's day. And in fact, I wasn't going to go to the audition, even though it was Robert Stevens, whose work I'd seen over the years at the Old Vic. I didn't know him, but I'd seen stuff he'd done, which was incredible.
Mm.
And so I read the play Murderer, and I thought, this is no good for me. And so I wasn't going to the audition.
Right.
And I was washing the dishes. It was before dishwashers. There we mentioned that. And the au pair, my American au pair, was sitting at the breakfast table reading the script of Murderer. So I'd left it lying there and she was reading it. And I'm washing it. And she started laughing. I said, what are you doing? I said, you're reading that. I said, why are you laughing? She said, because this is very funny. This is blah, blah, blah. I said, do you think that's, she said, yeah. I said, do you? I said, oh, okay then. So I said, I'm going out. So I grabbed my big raccoon coat with the hair and ran down to the theatre stage door. It was in the theatre, this interview audition. Went on the stage and Robert Stevens was there, obviously already playing a part because he had like pince-nez glasses and he was like looking at the Juve lead. That's what one was called.
Right.
That's an expression, to play the Juve lead, leading lady, juvenile lead. So the leading man was using his to look at the Juve lead. And I thought, you're a bit phony, having me on. You know what I mean? I didn't believe that for a moment, but he was acting, really. Do you know? I mean, but it's awful to say that, but it's true, as far as I'm concerned. I thought, So I began reading it, and I didn't do it with much enthusiasm because I was never enthusiastic about my part, you know. And I thought, for goodness sake, Pat, put something behind this, you know. But it wasn't very good. And I was stopped, which is unheard of. I mean, if you're stopped, you know, thank you means you're dreadful. That's a stage audition, and you come on, you start reading a few lines, and they go, thank you. And that's like, oh, I have to go. And the first time, well, I have to say, well, it was, you know, thank you. But I knew it was no good. I didn't try, you know, I couldn't help it. I had no enthusiasm. So that's the point about me, that I have to be enthusiastic about what it is. Anyway, the point was that, so I left, and I learned from Robert after what happened that Michael White was there at the audition. So Robert, they said, well, she was no good. They were down to the last 4 girls in London. They'd seen everyone. I'd met, most of them were my chums, so I knew they'd seen everyone, and they didn't choose any. And so they were a bit desperate. And Michael White said to Robert and the others, he said, I think she's very good, and I think she's going to go places. And Robert said, why are you pushing this girl? What is it? He said, well, did you ever see the Rocky Horror Show? And Robert said, yes, he did. He came to a matinee on the King's Road to the play.
Yeah.
With his dresser, he said to come. And he came backstage, and people were a bit excited. He came to see Tim Curry backstage at the Chelsea Classic on the King's Road, the cinema that we turned into a theatre. And so I knew he'd seen it. I mean, I'm just saying. So anyway, he said, why are you pushing her? What's about her? And he said, because you couldn't see the creature, let alone hear her. Robert said about me with the hair and the raccoon coat. And
yeah.
And Chalky White said, well, she was a Rocky Horror. She was the usherette Magenta. Robert said, give her the part. Can you imagine? That was my fate.
Yeah.
Extraordinary behavior. So I did Murderer. It was written by Tony Schaffer, who wrote Sleuth, which was an amazing piece of work. But Murderer ran for 6 months in the West End, but that's how I met Robert Stevens. So that's where we began together. So I'd acted with him, you know what I mean? And that was, and we were together ever since.
Wonderful.
Huh.
Damien, drawing you back to the Box Delights, Damien actually asks a fun question. He says, who amongst the cast did you most want to throw into the scrounger?
Oh. I'm sorry to take so long about that. I was going through them. I can't think of anyone except Mariah Jones.
Let's throw Mariah into the scrounger then.
Yeah.
It's a good one. One of the questions I've got is asking about the new audio production of the box. I don't know. Have you heard that?
Sadly, no. That's Derek Jacobi, isn't it?
Yeah. So
no, he's I did Claudius. I Claudius with him. He was my brother. He's a marvelous actor. I've never heard it. Nothing will be it. I'm sorry, but I think I am the Pouncer. And Robert definitely is Abner.
Yeah.
So then I've got stuck with that again, you know. There are some parts that one just, not all. Like we've played Lady Macbeth, you know, and I love it. That's one of my best roles. In fact, they talked about her in this Box of Delights by Philip Errington, because I was looking through it this morning and likening the Pouncer to Lady Macbeth.
Right.
Extraordinary in posits, in poisoning of. Because she poisons, you know, the grooms and things, you know,
Yeah.
drugs them. And she talks about posits.
Yeah.
Extraordinary. I've never connected that. So there's this wonderful of an actress at the time dressed as Lady Macbeth in the middle of this book of the Box of Delights. Now, Lady Macbeth is one of my favorite parts in the world. I played her at Bristol at the Old Vic. And it's a fantastic role. It's brilliant. And, but I will accept other Lady Macbeths. You know, maybe it's to do with the screen. If you make a mark of it on the screen, maybe it's that. I'd accept a million Lady Macbeths. Yes, I suppose in the theatre I'd accept. Anyone can play it. But if you're the first in a film or whatever, because I don't suppose I meant to say this, but I feel like that about Magenta. I think I am Magenta.
Yeah.
Because it was the first. I mean, was that BBC? Is that the first time it's been dramatized, The Box of Delights?
Yes. On TV, on for visuals, yeah. Obviously, there were the radio performances, which you know about anyway.
Visual, yeah, that must be it.
Visual.
And it's that, and also like with Rocky Horror was on the stage in a 6-seat room, going on to make a film 2 years later. So you think in that room, like overnight, we were creating these people. Tim Curry, lines were coming in, new songs, you know. So you think, you're supposed not to be possessive, but you think people follow it. You see, they follow that performance somehow.
Yeah. Heather Moore actually asks, if The Box of Delights was remade, who could you see playing your role?
Nobody.
Nobody. No. And I think you pretty much should already answered that question.
I'm possessive of the Pouncer, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that mean?
No, I think it's right.
Funny. They can, but they wouldn't have Abner.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, magnificent.
And I think Mark Gatiss in the box production did as well as he could, but none of them will ever be Abner for me than Robert Stephens. He was always the quintessential Abner for me.
Yeah, and it's awful to make comparisons and things and talk like that, but I just know what I know when I see it, you know. And Robert was.
Yeah, he simply was Abner. He just was him. It was fantastic.
And if you think of that thing from what being a 13-year-old boy,
yeah,
what an impression it made on him.
Yeah.
And then to play it, it's quite exciting. That.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Our final question is from Finn Clements, who's 12. And his dad says that a big tradition, Christmas tradition in their household, is to watch the Box of Delights every year. And Finn asks, are there any Christmas traditions that you have?
Oh, other than the Box of Delights? Oh, no. This Christmas, I'm hopefully going. Well, I'm trying to go to India, but it's not open yet. No visas yet. So I might go to Mexico. So I kind of avoid Christmas. I sound awfully bleak to Finn. Sorry. But because my grandchildren aren't around at the moment. So Christmas to me is to do with children, to do with people like Finn. And if I haven't got a Finn around, it's not much fun.
Yeah.
And I shared the Box of Delights with my grandchildren. I actually bored them to death. I think I forced the Box of Delights on them. I definitely did. They had to see it, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, so and I made them join the Boxers, you know, to get. Oh, and I did that the other day. I was at a Comic-Con convention, and this fellow comes up to me, and it's signing for Doctor Who and Rocky and whatever and other things. And this fellow, occasionally the box, you know, to sign, to bring, you know, DVDs and things. And this guy came with a DVD, and he said, "I brought this for you," and he gave it to me as a present, a Box of Delights DVD, which was adorable of him.
Oh.
You don't usually give those away, you know, but it was a present. And there was a little girl with my agent. It's my agent's little girl, and I think she's 8. I said, "I've got something for you." I said to her mother, "Do you have a DVD player?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I've got something for you." And then I made her join the Boxers, and with the 2 names and whatever. I made her mother promise to show her.
Yeah.
So I introduced her to it. I felt so pleased that I got another one to see it.
Yeah.
For her.
It is. It's wonderful. Brilliant. Thank you so much for chatting today. That's actually all of the questions that I've got.
That's enough. I mean, yes, thank you. It's enough. I could go on all day, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel that I'd have anything to say. Imagine me thinking that.
It's been absolutely fantastic having a chat with you today, and I just want to say on behalf of everybody from the Box of Delights, thank you, and thank you again.
That's a pleasure, and I wouldn't be here but for you. I mean, where did we first meet? Was it at the BFI? You bumped into?
Yes, yeah, because we'd spoken before, because I'm involved in the Robert Stevens Appreciation Society.
That's it.
And yeah, and then we actually met when my husband was doing something at the convention at the Excel Centre. Oh, I should show you the top I'm wearing, which says, I don't know if you can read that, it may be back to front.
One last great wickedness. Oh, how gorgeous!
So I had that made for our first ScrobbleFest. Unfortunately, you can't see it, I've realised, but it's not a problem.
Damn it, no, we can see it.
But I had that specially made.
Because I think it's just brilliant for everyday life.
Yes.
I'll ask you.
People have asked me, and I just say, "Oh, it's from a favourite book of mine."
Oh, boring of you.
As many options as possible to be as boring as I can. So there we go.
Rubbish. Yeah, but the main thing is, it's just that it's so provocative that
it is. Thank you so much, Pat, and we really appreciate this.
Well, thank you, and it was great. That's meeting you is the reason I'm here. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Bless your heart.
Bye. Thank you.